We're going to get started in just about 1 minute. We're letting people roll in. Excited to have you guys join us tonight with the Career Center. Lots of folks rolling in, so we'll just give it another second or watching our ticker go. All right, we're going to go get started because I know we're all at evening time and people have things to do. So good evening. My name is Ethan Fesperman. I'm one of the career coaches at the Vanderbilt Career Center. And I'll be facilitating a session tonight and excited to have you guys, that you decided to spend an evening with Vanderbilt Career Center. One of the things is, usually we have about 80 parents sign up for our live session we do in the fall for Family Weekend. We had roughly 500 plus folks who signed up for this session. So I feel a little bit like how Netflix must feel in COVID with their COVID viewership's up like 300%. So we're excited to have everybody join us tonight. I'd like to recognize firstly how challenging a family decision it must have been to attend Vanderbilt this fall, whether you're a returning student, new student, do I stay home or do virtual, do I live off campus, on campus? So we just want to honor just how hard of a decision that may have been, and appreciate you sending your young people to Vanderbilt. And so hopefully you'll feel better about at least the Career Center element of what we're doing here in these tumultuous times. We've compiled a list of questions that parents often ask, and some of you have submitted questions before this session, so thank you. We will focus on responding to these frequently asked questions, and our goal is for you to leave with some clarity about how we as a Career Center work with your young person, and ideas for how you can support them as well. You're already doing that, but when you kind of get into this career space, it can get a little hectic with their decision making and their goals and aspirations versus what you may feel would be in their best interest. We have about 10 staff members on the call tonight, which is about half of our staff. We are growing. We have a new chancellor, in case you know, and I know they'll be doing a session as well. New chancellor who's really going to invest in this Career Center space. Our executive director, Dr. Kate Brooks, a national thought leader, has really expanded the footprint we have on our campus and also nationally. And so we're going to continue to build on that. So we're excited. Again, about 10 of our staff members on the call. We normally are just meeting with students one-on-one, or just do small presentations. So we're excited to get a bunch of the gang together tonight to have a discussion with you. We'll be taking turns answering questions, and they'll be introducing themselves, my colleagues, as we go through. And a little housekeeping: this session is being recorded and will be, I believe, will be shared with you. If you have a question, feel free to submit it in the Q&A box. So we have somebody kind of monitoring that. Please keep the questions kind of broad. If you have a very specific question, it may be challenging for us to answer, but we'll have time at the end to respond to some of those questions. But if there are too many questions or too specific, we may do a follow-up session just amongst ourselves. We're responding to these questions, and then we would share that recording with you. So we want to be sure. We love parent engagement, and anything we can do to help you with that clarity would be great. So next slide. All right, so kind of an interesting pairing of words, wise wanderings. The work of our office really comes out of the belief that students can have aspirations and dreams, but also can make practical, informed decisions. And you kind of, as you see for this sign, life and career is not a linear process. As much as we would like to plot it out on an Excel sheet, as many of our students I work with would like to do, and have that 15-year life plan. It really doesn't work that way. So we're gonna, we recognize that, and we think that that's a positive thing, is that, but we, as you'll see throughout the evening and meeting all my great colleagues, and hopefully you'll get some, feel better about, if not already, the Career Center here and how we work with students. But we do, the underlying philosophy that we believe in is this idea of like wise wanderings. And I'm just going to tell a quick story. Just this afternoon, I was working, a student who I've been working with for a number of years. We had refined what his dream was, which was to work in the music industry as a talent agent, had made definite big inroads on that dream, had clarified from some other industries he was looking at. But recently we're having conversations, and that industry has just literally imploded. And so where he wants to go is going to have to pivot. And so while we do work with students on, what their dreams and goals and help refine that, we also can be that, tough love, practical person that they work with, where we might say, I see this as your dream, but what are some other angles we could look at this? And so in my work with that student, we're looking at, after some conversations, maybe sales in some capacity, where he could work on those skills that would apply to be at a talent agency when things open up again, and to continue to network. So just to give you a little snapshot of those kind of things, that we do have that belief in those wise wanderings. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to do a little audience participation right now. So I would love to, and again, I don't know, I guess I didn't introduce myself. All right, guys, I'm Ethan, and I'm one of the career coaches, and I work with students who are in the, we coach by major, and I coach students who are in the human and organizational development major here at Vanderbilt, very popular major. And when I started college, I thought I wanted to be a hotel manager, work in hospitality. But my mom let me on a job shadow at a resort, and I met the assistant manager there. And basically after that, I was like, no way, that's not what I was envisioning. So I've had a long, wise wanderings, and I'm now a career coach at Vanderbilt. But to get in the mindset here with that, I'd love for everyone to feel willing to share in the chat. Just write in what you thought you were going to be when you were 18 and what you do now. So we'll just take a minute or two and share those in the chat. We do this activity live when we're doing these sessions with parents, and it's we always find it fun, and they find it entertaining as well. Yeah, we got thought he was somebody was going to be a doctor, and now they're a software engineer. A rock star. Hey, turf management to pharmacist. This is great. This is exactly what we experience on a day-to-day basis with students who, many of our students come in identifying as pre-med, and then they have to make that pivot for a number of different reasons. But some people do follow, see somebody who wanted to be management consulting and is still management consulting. That happens too. So there is sometimes that linear path, but and we support that. If somebody comes in and it's like, I want to be a doctor, I'm all about it, and they want to follow the path and have that wherewithal, then we support them. So I don't want to make it sound like we're making people go in different directions. Hairdresser to functional health doctor, love it. Hey, so somebody was a diplomat and now stays at home and employs those same diplomatic skills. It's just fun. And so actor to doctor, thought they wanted to be actor. I guess maybe you could bring some of that to your job. But we're gonna, I appreciate you guys, everybody chiming in and sharing those. So those are, somebody wanted to be a pro soccer player and now they're a manager. Excellent. So, hopefully you can see that's what, as your young person here at Vanderbilt, they're experiencing the same things. They may have a very clear, think they have an identity of who they want to be and what they want to do, and then they have experiences, classes that that may change their minds. And just know that we're here to support that. And with that, I will pass it over to next slide. I can't remember to my great colleague Allison.
Thanks, Ethan. So hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Allison. I'm one of our career coaches over at the Career Center. I specifically support our economics and history students, help students go into a variety of particularly business careers, but some that also on the history side are going into a plethora of different areas, whether that's law, public policy, museum curation, marketing. So a lot of really unique opportunities to work with students in a variety of capacities, and like Ethan alluded to, helping them find the direct career path for them. So I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I think one fun job that I had while I was in high school is I worked at a green bean factory. So I'm from small town Wisconsin, and Del Monte Foods, they have a really big plant there, and talk about a unique experience. Never did I think I would ever work at a green bean factory, and now I'm a career coach at Vanderbilt. So I think we all have some of those really unique experiences, either in high school or maybe even in college, that even though they're not relevant or as applicable to what our careers are now, we gained a lot of skill sets. I certainly learned work ethic and time management, working long shifts and being very organized and diligent in the things that I was doing. So happy to be here and help your students as they're navigating their search process. So starting out by talking about how does the Career Center help? First off, I just wanted to mention that there's a trend going around in higher ed, and especially at Vanderbilt, as that there's an institutional responsibility to support students throughout their entire career exploration and search process. So we really want to break this cycle or stigma that the Career Center is the only place that is supporting students in their career search and professional development experiences. We like to think of it as like a career ecosystem, which is comprised of numerous cross-campus collaborations to ensure your students' needs are being met. The Career Center partners with faculty, advisors, alumni, academic, as well as diversity and inclusion offices. So I am the liaison and work very closely with the Women's Center on campus. So I have already hosted 3 programs this semester. We do a lot to encourage many other students in a lot of these variety of backgrounds to create a cross-campus collaboration to ensure their needs are being met. And we're working incredibly hard to continue expanding upon and building these collaborations and initiatives. And we have built committees to meet every student where they're at in their process, because it's not a one size fits all. We want to make sure we're meeting students where they're at. And not only is this just a campus initiative, but it's also an employer and community initiative. So we want to get students connected to as many local, national, and international employers as possible. And I might have saw a quick question about that. So we serve beyond just opportunities in Nashville. We want students to find opportunities at the places and organizations in the cities where they want to be. So now putting all these collaborations initiatives into practice. So how do we specifically help? I'll talk about a few of the great things that we do, and a lot of the coaches will go into greater detail upon them, and we certainly do things beyond what I mentioned now, but we do have a Vanderbilt specific job board, Doorways, where we post opportunities for a variety of organizations. You can go back a slide, not there yet. Career exploration. So we have dedicated coaches to support students by major as well as industry through our Vandy in career communities. And we have coaches for first year and undecided students, so we can help them navigate that and they don't feel pigeonholed into a major or career pathway at that point. We provide professional development workshops, one-on-one as well as group coaching sessions. We offer networking, job shadowing, mock interview events with employers as well as alumni. We have career fairs and slams where employers are engaging with students in a really close capacity, even in the virtual environment that we're experiencing right now. We have information sessions with targeted employers that want to hire Vanderbilt students. And then we also have scholarship and fellowship process application and support to help students through those experiences as well, because we know they can be very taxing and have a lot of components that go into it to making a successful scholarship and fellowship application and attaining some of those opportunities. So now I'm going to briefly discuss the way that we coach our students. So you can move ahead to the next slide. So these are the 4 Ds. For those of you that registered for the event, the roadmap should have been included in that email, so certainly feel free to pull it up and look at that in greater detail. But internally, we want you to know that we're experts in the process of helping guide your student as they go through their career exploration, search process, and then once they've attained these really great experiences, opportunities, built up these really great skill sets, how they can showcase those in an effective way to ensure that post-graduation and beyond, they're prepared to sell those experiences and get the jobs that they're really interested in landing. And the roadmap isn't always straight. It can be fluid in nature. So similar to like Ethan talked about wise wanderings, it's not always a direct pathway. And like all of you had just mentioned in the chat, we discover things and it is a cycle. So there have certainly been times where I will meet with a student who is an economics major and they're like, Allison, I want to go to law school. So we talk about the process, the skills that they need to articulate in their documentation. The student I'm thinking of, she just came back this week to me and was like, Allison, I know we just talked about everything that I need to do for law school, but now I think I want to transition and go into a career in finance based on these 3 things that I've done some self-exploration. We talked about how she can now put some of these experiences into practice and start to pivot her career path. And that happens often. So this roadmap truly is kind of fluid in nature. So as a parent, the one takeaway that we want you to know is that we're truly experts in this process and that your student can be working through a lot of these different areas. And it is cyclical in nature. So we're certainly happy to kind of help them as they pivot and navigate in that certain way. And this isn't just job placement, it's more so helping students create ownership over their process. So essentially teaching them how to fish per se, but also throwing them a fish along the way with the services and opportunities that we provide them. So now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Kayla, who will discuss when we provide services and more.
Thank you, Allison. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kayla Smith, and I am one of the career coaches who works with first and second year students who are undeclared, as well as students majoring in philosophy and religious studies. And a little bit about me is that one of the first jobs that I had growing up when I was in high school was a referee for basketball games with just the local basketball recreation league. So I learned at an early age how to deal with conflict resolution as well as communication styles, getting a little workout while on the job and earning a paycheck. So one of the things that we often hear in our office from students or a parent like yourself might be, when do we start providing the resources and the services that we offer, as well as for how long? So what is the duration of our services? And to answer your question, it is that we provide services for Vanderbilt students as soon as they begin their classes. So if your student is a first-year student, they are more than welcome to join in with their peers and utilize the services that we offer at the Career Center. And we often say, come early and come often. And with that phrase, we really invite first-year students into our office. We have career coaches for every single major on campus, as well as for students who are undeclared. And maybe a student knows exactly what they want to do. We can help them get there. Talk about updating a resume and how to do that at the collegiate level. If a student is exploratory in nature, we're also happy to help them explore different career possibilities and maybe even navigate things like visual thinking or exploring options based on a major that they have or have not thought of for themselves. In addition to this, we help students at the Career Center for 2 years beyond graduation. So the total duration that a student is at Vanderbilt and the next 2 years. I love when students come back. We have drop-in hours, for instance, and I met with a student today who has graduated and is working on documents in preparation for law school. So that was a great use of her utilizing her resources, knowing that she can receive help from us at the Career Center in order to create her resume, even though she has already graduated. I also want to mention that we do not have any limits or restrictions on appointments. So sometimes students make an appointment once a month to check in and navigate through their processes. Sometimes it's once a semester. Again, maybe that's a check-in, maybe that's a career path has changed or an idea has come up, but it could also be as needed. So at the Career Center, we invite students to come early, come often, and definitely come as needed. But we do end every appointment with action steps so students know exactly what they should be working on. And if they have questions, we are always available to assist them. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Penny so she can talk more about employers.
Hi, Kayla. Thank you so much. My name is Penny Baga, and I'm Director for Employer Relations. I started my career over 20 years ago as an elementary educator. I taught second grade. And like you all, I am a parent of a college student, which is very exciting. So I will answer the question, do you bring national employers to campus? And that answer is yes. The Career Center has a team of employer relations specialists whose main job is to build relationships with new employers and strengthen relationships with current employers so that our students can learn about job opportunities, learn about new career paths, and connect with employers in a variety of ways. So let's look at the next slide. These are some of the employers that come to campus. And as you can see, they represent a variety of industries, everything from healthcare to entertainment, communications, finance, consulting, engineering, and more. So can we go to the next slide? So this is a good question. How do students engage with employers? If we look at the next slide, they engage with employers in a variety of ways. We have large events, small events, and mid-size events. Everything from info sessions, workshops, interviews, coffee chats, career fairs, curiosity conversations, and networking events. All of these events are currently virtual, and they're all listed on Doorways, which is only accessible to Vanderbilt students. So with that said, I will pass the baton to my colleague, Elizabeth, who will share information about fellowships and scholarships.
Hi, everyone. I am Elizabeth Lambert. I am the Associate Director of Fellowships and Scholarships. So first, I want to explain what fellowships and scholarships we serve in the Career Center. When we talk about fellowships, we're talking about external funding, so non-Vanderbilt funds that support students taking part in high-impact activities. And for undergraduates, especially for the first years, the sophomores, the juniors, this can include funding to conduct independent research, study abroad, studying critical languages, public service, and leadership development opportunities. For seniors and alumni, there are specific awards for students in arts and humanities, for students across disciplines to pursue graduate study, opportunities to teach both in the United States and abroad, and a variety of service and leadership opportunities. We support awards that range from the Mitchell Scholarship and Rhodes, which only select 12 to 30 students a year from the United States, to the Fulbright and the Gilman Scholarship, which select 2,000 and 3,000. And I really believe there is a fellowship opportunity that's relevant for every student. They just need to plan ahead. In order to make the most of applying for fellowships during their time at Vanderbilt, my first advice is in their first semester on campus, and in some cases in their first year, they should work with career coaches first. They should get established in majors, minors, fields of study, think about potential career paths and goals. It's also important that they try to build a solid GPA, that they engage on campus and in the community, find their niche, because that's going to help them determine which awards are the best fit. I recommend students generally come to meet with us for the first time, either in the spring of their first year or in the fall of their second year. And in February, March, and April, we do a number of workshops, which I imagine this year will be virtual, to help students learn about the types of opportunities and the resources that we can provide to support them. And I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Alex.
And we can go to the next slide here. Hello, everyone. Thank you for that introduction, Elizabeth. My name is Alex Rizzuto, and I'm one of the career coaches at Vanderbilt University supporting communication studies, political science, and public policy majors. When I got to college, I wanted to work in publishing, and I was lucky enough to get an internship at a popular literary agency in New York. And it was a great internship because I hated it. And it helped me understand that for me to be happy, I needed to work in a setting where I could interact with people more frequently. And because of this experience, I was able to navigate to a field that I love. And so what we're talking about today is we've made a commitment to Vandy. What is the return on that investment? This is a common question we get asked. And in this hectic year, I thought what better way to show the return on investment by detailing how we've adjusted our services in the midst of a global pandemic where we can't actually see students in person. So we can go to the next slide. So we have had 3,208 coaching appointments from 2019 to 2020. This is a 17% increase from last year. And then in addition to that, we started something called the Career Compass program. So when cases started to rise and students were leaving campus and internships were starting to get canceled, we wanted students to know that they were supported and ensure that they knew how to navigate the hurdles that come with professional development during a global pandemic. So we constructed the Career Compass program. Students could sign up for this program and by doing so participated in a series of either 3 or 5 appointments to discuss whatever they wanted, whether it was how can I find remote work this summer, what do I do about my canceled internship, or my favorite question of what should I do with my life? And this program resulted in over 160 appointments in less than 2 months. Another way we've adapted is increased flexibility. With students no longer being solely on campus, we had to ensure that our students across the country and abroad could still meet with us at a convenient time. Many of our coaches altered our appointment availability to include early morning hours, late evening hours, and even occasional weekend appointments to ensure all students could still access our coaching services. Additionally, our career fair and employer events, Penny talked about this a little bit, but we've held over 500 virtual employer events and info sessions since March, not including our career fair where we had over 70 employers speaking with Vanderbilt students. We have 14,000 plus jobs on our doorway system. And then lastly, remote work resources. We created a new section on our recommended online resources page on our website that includes resources and job boards specific to remote work so students can gain valuable experience from the comfort of their home. And we can go to the next slide. So some more popular questions. What can students do with an English major? How will you connect them with alumni? I always laugh at this one because I'm an English major myself. And based on my experience, as well as my knowledge as a career coach, the truth is that an English major can do almost anything. And you go to the next slide here. So we always say that experience oftentimes matters more than major or is greater than major. I mean, when you think about writing cover letters for job applications or interviewing with a company, it's not your academic courses that you're talking about the most in that interview or in that cover letter. It's your experiences. So while your major does certainly matter, especially in STEM or other skill degrees, it is more so about the skills developed in those experiences and being able to demonstrate how the skills learned in those experiences translate to whatever position the student is applying for. So yeah, if you want more specific information on what an English major from Vanderbilt can go on to do, we have 3 different resources listed here where students can connect with alumni for their own personal sakes, whether it's for informational interviews or learning more about a certain job. But this can also give you insight into what can my child do with this major. For example, the Undergrad Summer Experience database. This is where students can go to view where Vanderbilt students interned the past 3 years. VU Connect is a Vanderbilt alumni directory composed by Vanderbilt's Department of Alumni Relations. And on this resource, certain alumni are designated as career advisors, just indicating their willingness to speak with students. And then lastly, LinkedIn, which I'm sure everyone has heard about. You can go to Vanderbilt University's page on LinkedIn, click alumni, and then you can use filters like where they work, what they do, and what they studied to identify specifically what does an English major at Vanderbilt University end up doing. And that is it for me. Amanda, take it away.
Thanks, Alex. I love going after my faithful colleague, Alex. We used to both work with first-year students. So I'm Amanda. I'm one of the career coaches. I work specifically with education students, English students, like Alex was, also all of the social sciences. Those are my humans. And to tell you a little bit about me and maybe that kind of fun career fact is I actually studied social work with a concentration in management of human services and interpersonal practice. So my first experiences in a career were very much foster care and social services focus. And through my journey of taking advantage of professional associations and mentorship, I ended up getting my master's degree in social work and finding work in higher ed, and I absolutely love it. So my journey, just like many students, is not a linear path. It's about taking advantage of your network, taking advantage of opportunities, and leaning into your strengths and listening to yourself. So the questions I'm going to be answering tonight are kind of, I think, hot topic pieces. Do they need an internship, and how hard is it to get one? So I think this is a common question, mainly because we're the Career Center. So people think in terms of outcomes like job or internship. But at our Career Center, we try to reframe the conversation about experience, that you can get a lot of experience outside of just a structured internship. Yes, internships are a great way to learn industries that you're interested in, where your skills really shine. Like Alex said, working in publishing, he learned he didn't really love it. Working in foster care, I learned that wasn't necessarily my long-term fit. So internships are great, but we actually showing our flexibility and support for students to take advantage of opportunities and to explore a little bit more, really reframe the conversation about experience. Now, how hard is it to get one is really dependent on what your student is willing to do, like put in a little bit of a hustle, whether it's networking, being engaged in the Career Center. Also, we created in our flexibility during the season of COVID, some really great resources to help frame that conversation of beyond internship. So we can go to the next slide. And one of those resources is this wonderful diagram that really outlines all of the various ways a student could potentially structure their summer that would give them transferable skills or exposure to a population that they might be interested in, all which could be reflected on their resume outside of something like a traditional internship. And I'm actually at this very moment dropping in the chat for everybody a resource that we created on the Vandy Career Center website. And it is framed in terms of industry. So just as a build off of this beyond internship conversation, based on industries, we have sample summer plans, which are not necessarily focused on internships, but very much so can speak to exploring opportunities, maybe building a specialization, or like Elizabeth mentioned, finding your niche, finding where your strengths are and investing in that. So I encourage you to check those out and maybe share those with your student as well. They're very easy because they walk through some sample ideas of what you could potentially do with your summer, or even take into a spring semester or a fall semester if you have a lighter caseload as far as courses. But it helps you diversify outside of internships what you can do. And they're accessible to everyone as long as they live on the Career Center website. So you can go to the next slide. We'll get there. In the next slide, we're going to be talking, just building off of the conversation, how can your students stand out apart from grades? And a little bit of that could be already reflected in some conversations that we've had. Maybe it's exploring something outside of an internship, building your own project, which is on a lot of sample plans, building your network, engaging in community, maybe a study abroad when those become available again, or a scholarship or fellowship opportunity. It's really looking for ways to find a place to explore a population that you're interested in. And if you're really passionate about activism, anything that is your thing, chase it 100%. So that could be student engagement on campus or off campus if you have a heart for volunteerism. So your student has a lot of different pathways outside of grades that they could reflect on their LinkedIn profile or on their resume that really helps them stand out, whether it's applying to a job or applying to a future internship or even applying to grad school in the future. And after all of that, we can help them package that beautiful picture of beyond internships and how they have stood out and been engaged on campus. With all of that being said, I'm going to pass it to our colleague, Paul, who is another career coach in the Career Center.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. My name is Paul Flournoy, and I am a career coach working with students who major in chemistry as well as engineering majors such as biomedical, chemical, civil, as well as general engineering, along with medicine, health, and society and physics students as well. So when I was 18, I was pretty set on being a psychologist, which actually ended pretty quickly after taking Psych 101. So now here's a career coach. I'm very happy with where I am, and I went through that same transition as well. So I want to talk to you all tonight a little bit about what a career coaching session looks like. So we begin our appointments by establishing a relationship through small conversations, checking in on how the semester is going, any hobbies they might be picking up. Really, we just want to establish, hey, we're here, we're human, we're here for you. And so from there, we walk through the coaching note that they left, and then we open it up to additional thoughts or questions that the student might have thought of between the time they scheduled the appointment to that moment. So in the conversations, as a career coach, we serve as a guide and really to probe and walk through each step of their questions that they have. And so a lot of the times, more questions will come up during the appointment. And that's awesome. That's what we love to see. That means they're engaged, they're actively listening, and they want to learn more about that. And so we're more than happy to dive deeper into that. So along with what we like to talk about and what we like to go through is goal setting is a big part of the process in helping students. And so whether that's big picture or small picture, goal setting and visualizing that success really helps with the process and really helps gain that ground that you might feel like you'd be losing. So as a coach, we're actively taking notes through the session to make sure we get the full picture of what the student's looking for, as well as assuring that we've answered all the questions that the student has at that moment. And so once we get through every question, we actually recap what we talked about and go through next steps of what the student can do outside of the appointment to continue that progress and continue to work towards that professional development success. And so we also then walk through any additional resource that our office offers, whether that's virtual drop-ins Monday through Friday for resume reviews or quick questions, or any workshops that we have coming up that actually might relate to the conversation we just had. We also point them to those, and those are in doorways, our portal. And so we like to mention those workshops coming up just in case it doesn't come across their calendar and say, hey, you know what, we've talked about networking and outreach today. There's actually an effective email workshop event going on next Tuesday afternoon. So be sure to stop by that, RSVP through doorways. So having resources like that to be able to offer at the end of appointments, always really, really great. So for us here at the Career Center, it's really not about transactions, and it's actually about relationships and building those relationships. And that actually holds true for networking and outreach as well. So any ways we're able to emulate that through our coaching appointments, we do just that. So in terms of COVID, how that has really changed our coaching method and approach, it really hasn't. Other than not having the student physically in the office, we're able to maintain that high level of support through Zoom appointments, and we still see the same level of engagement from the student as well. So we're very pleased with how that transition has gone. And so now with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Ethan, who's going to talk a little bit about how to encourage your student and be proactive. Thanks, Ethan.
Yeah. All right. I hope you guys are learning a lot, and I'm actually learning a little bit from my colleagues here. But before I answer this, like how can you as a parent encourage your student to be proactive? I just saw one of the questions that came through is about like, how does it, this is great. You guys sound like you know what you're doing and have a lot going on. How does my young person learn about this? And so I did want to make a plug for, we have an awesome leader in our office with our marketing guru. So we're on a lot of social media platforms. We do tons of outreach to students. So like Kayla was on, she has her and her partner with first years. They do, meet with all first year students and kind of their vision sessions. We go classroom presentations. We work with faculty, department, engagement. We send out, information. We were working feverishly today to send out our Vandy In career community newsletters that are targeted So there's lots of information that's going out to the students. And so this idea of, how do they know about it is really, if we can just get them in the door in some capacity or some kind of engagement, whether that's our drop-in hours or attending one of our events, then I think we can really get the ball rolling. Also, students talk to other students, and they, when they have a successful, as Alex pointed out, we have a 17% increase in participation, and we feel like that robust number is as a result of the good work we do, but also word of mouth. It travels fast, and so we definitely get students who are referred by their friends and they come in. So we feel like we're at a high level of engagement. Now, with what you can do to encourage your student to be proactive, it really is about that balance between being a parent and saying, like, as I said in the beginning, maybe your thoughts on where they should be going and their thoughts and that ability to give them latitude to make some decisions on their own. I know somebody wrote in one of the questions that they had, their young person is a very, very independent decision maker, and they're not really sure what they're doing, and they're not included in the process. So I know that it can be challenging as a student. So if we can go to the next slide. And I did send out, hopefully you received it, but we did send out a parent email this morning from Sandra's office, family parent office, with some information about, tips for you to engage your young person. We like to think you don't go into a test without studying, nor do you start a research paper without researching. So basically what we're saying is we do see a benefit to students who engage our office. I mean, we had students who find their path and find great opportunities and land those without engaging with our services. But the ones that do, I think that there's a lot of benefit in terms of interview prep. We can help them know with their resume and their professional documents, as some of my colleagues have highlighted earlier. So really, meeting with a career coach is that first natural step in starting the internship, fellowship. And we didn't have a question, but we do grad school advising. I know a parent, one of you wrote in about that. So we do full on grad school advising for all of our students. And so trying to encourage, the first thing you can do is encourage them just to set foot in the Career Center, and our drop-ins are every day at this point, 11 to 1 via Zoom. So anywhere in the world, and we can try to work with them outside with multiple time zones as well. Next slide. Parent support. So just quickly, you can offer to support them when they're ready. I know that can be a challenge because you see, like, hey, you've been there 2 years. I'm not hearing a lot of chatter about careers. I'm a little, as parents, we're a little nervous, what's going on. But it's that balancing act between letting them make some decisions and take ownership, and that balance. Encourage them to, as I said, engage with the Career Center and allowing them to explore options. And we as a Career Center in the summers, we often reach out to many alum just to get their perspective on what's happening, what did they learn, anything we can do to infuse that in our coaching. And one of the things I hear from graduates all the time, whether it's recent or not, is I wish I had done a little bit more reflection while I was at Vanderbilt. I like what I do, but I wish I had done a little bit more of that. And so I think that's the challenge, and I think we have the resources to help them do that reflection piece. So it doesn't have to be a year-long reflection. We can get where you want to go fairly quickly, but they have to put in some energy and some effort into it, and we're there to co-pilot with them on that. Next slide. And so we're just going to wrapping it up, and we're going to leave you with this great quote from Mark Twain. Just all the parents out there, where you're trying to have conversations with your young person, particularly potential sensitive conversations like, what are you doing with your life, kind of thing. So a little humor there. And then our last slide is just, we have, I know we've got quite a few questions coming in the Q&A. And Kathy, if you want to kind of pick some questions and ask some coaches to respond. There's a lot of questions, so I don't know if we can get to all of them, but we'll spend the next 10 minutes or so going through some questions. And like I said, if if we identify lots of questions we're not able to get to, perhaps we'll do another record a Q&A response and mail that out. So Kathy?
Great. Thank you, Ethan. Hi, everybody. I'm so grateful to see such amazing participation. My name is Kathy Weisbrot. I am the Associate Director for Science Careers and Health Professions Advising in the Career Center. My first job was working in sales, supporting marine and industrial engine sales at GM Powertrain in Michigan. So I have certainly not had a linear path, but like my colleagues, I absolutely love higher ed and certainly love working in the Career Center. We've had some really great questions. The first one I am going to send to Alex because this is right in his wheelhouse. My sophomore thinks it's too early in the year to be looking for a summer internship. I disagree. Which one is correct?
Yeah, so I believe some of my colleagues have said earlier, our motto is come early, come often. Something I think to keep in mind is that different industries have different recruiting timelines. And so if you have a child who's interested in finance or consulting, they should absolutely be coming as soon as possible because a lot of those industries recruit starting in like late August even for the next year. But truthfully, I think always just having an ear to the ground is the best strategy to go about your internship search. And so above all else, encourage your child to meet with the Career Center so we can talk to them about when is the appropriate time for your industry to begin really devoting a lot of time to internship searching. And then what is the best strategy to go about that internship search?
Great. Thank you, Alex. And Kayla, this one is for you. What do you recommend for a student who is not sure of a major or doesn't have a clear career identified? Does our office offer any type of assessments, or how do we navigate those conversations with students?
That is a fantastic question. And regardless of even the academic year of the student, because sometimes we know that our paths change or we take a class that really inspires us in one way or another. As career coaches, we are all available to help students navigate exploring different career possibilities. So we do have a few different assessments that we love to do with students. The key point in assessments that we really enjoy is actually working through the results of those. So if you take an assessment online, it might render different results that can actually be confusing. But with a career coach, we can help the student take those results, really work through them and figure out what are the skills that you have, what are the reasons as to why some of these careers are being recommended, as well as look at maybe the skills that those jobs have and personality, character traits, academic interests, and put that all together to help the student develop a plan that will really work for them as an individual. So yes, we have assessments available. We often do those with students, but we also do a lot of visual thinking exercises. And those are to help students really understand, when are you at your best? What are some of the times when you have been able to flourish in different activities that you're a part of? And then we can pull out what are some of the things that you might want to do in terms of a career that align with those opportunities or times when you've been at your best. We have a lot of different activities. Our associate director and our director actually came out with a whole book. It's called Picture Your Career, and it has a ton of different activities that we as career coaches can pull from to work with a student to explore different options. So we do a lot of that in our sessions. We definitely welcome any student who's looking to explore to make a coaching appointment with us through Doorways.
Great. Thank you, Kayla. And Paul, what steps do you recommend for current seniors living on campus?
Yeah, definitely. Again, with networking, being able to network with employers virtually is a great opportunity to grow professionally. So a lot of employers, as we're seeing, are staying working from home, and they're not too far from their computers. So really taking time to do research on companies, as well as doing research on different employers, different alumni from Vanderbilt is a really great way to spend your time on campus. And then for going back to that Psychology 101 class, doing something for yourself as well, taking a mental break and putting on that mask and going for a lap around your dorm or a lap around the quad, really really helps with that progress, and being able to put yourself in the right mind space is really beneficial. So I'd say best thing that you can do while on campus is network with alumni, take time to do research, take mental breaks, and then on top of that, find ways that you can get involved, because when this does end, we will have a lot of events and a lot of student orgs on campus again. So taking advantage of doing research and being really in the environment is a great way.
Great, thank you. Penny, now we're going to flip over to the employer side for a moment. Are there any specific dates or events for campus recruiting that our students should be paying attention to?
Kathy, yeah, it's me. There we go. Now my video will start. Yes, in terms of recruiting events, they happen year round. So for example, we have spring career fairs coming up in February that are already being planned, an engineering fair, and then a fair that will be designed to connect students in the communication space, education, healthcare, and more. We're also going to plan one for May, but more details will come to that. But Kathy, to really address your question, the students need to be actively engaged in doorways because different industries recruit at different times.
Great, thank you, Penny. Allison, we had a question about how our office supports international students.
Yes, good question. So we do have an internal international student committee. Paul, who's on the call, as well as Lisa, are a part of the committee, as well as our colleague Parrish. So the four of us meet regularly to discuss how we can best support our international student population, especially during this time right now. So each semester we put on a plethora of different events, we provide a lot of different resources, and we collaborate really closely with our International Student Council, as well as connecting with any of our diversity and inclusion international student groups. So through that, we're able to assess not only what we think are great things for international students to be doing to prepare them for careers or graduate school, but also hearing from them what they need from us and how we can best support them. So a lot of times we get questions from students on, you know, how do I go through the process? When is a good time to ask about sponsorship? And while those are great questions and we can talk from our perspective, it's great to hear from other international students who have gone through the process. So one thing we did specifically over the summer was reach out to alumni and create a platform where those alumni are able to answer a lot of these frequently asked questions and how students can go about navigating these different conversations, how they can pursue different career pathways. So through that kind of PDF document that we were able to put together, comprise all of those responses, we've been able to transition that into a plethora of different curiosity conversations this semester. So these are just a few different things that we're doing to support our international students. We've revamped our website. We've done outreach calls to our peer institutions to see what they do to best support their international students. So we do a lot of different things to support them. We also try to highlight different employers that are willing to hire international students. So if your international student has questions, we're also able to meet them where they're at. If they, any of us on our committee, as well as most coaches, would be willing to schedule time flexible with their availability. I know our international students are not, some of them are not here in Nashville with us. They're at their home in different time zones. So we want to be able to make sure we're meeting them where they're at. So we've offered a lot of different really early morning availability or late evening to really make sure we're supporting them during this especially challenging time. So again, don't hesitate to have your international student reach out because we are doing our best to really support them through this incredibly challenging job market at this time.
Great, thank you, Allison.
Kathy, can I just chime in on something real quick? Because I think a number of parents brought it up, and I think it's an important point, is that this idea of my young person feels overwhelmed, or maybe they will feel overwhelmed. And I just want to say something for our staff. I feel like we're talking heavy on the tips and tactics and what they can do and all this information, and I share, we have a marketing guru who gets all this information out, and we get it. We're very understanding of information overload. So Not only that, we try to parse it out and meet students where they are in like their student orgs, their community. If we can, I feel like if we could just get them in the door and they meet with a coach, we can tamp down that, like, there's too much information, and we can really create that individualized action plan. They see that I'm a human being and that he or she or whoever, they can come in and meet with us. And if I have a student comes in and is feeling so overwhelmed with courses, and Vanderbilt is a hyper competitive environment, and there's a lot of comparisonitis that goes on, and they can feel and even that can bring up the pressure that they feel. So we're not, we can recognize, and we're trained. And if I have a student who's clearly upset and on the verge of tears because of all these other things going on, I'm not going to press it. We're going to stop and just say, hey, how are you doing? Do you have the support you need on campus? So I think it's important just to put that plug out there, is that we recognize that it's a tough place, especially for first year students in this, being in dormitories by themselves. It's extraordinary circumstances. So I feel like our staff goes above and beyond, along with the rest of the Vandy community. So I just wanted to chime in on that.
Thank you, Ethan. You read my mind. And one question, I know information's been put into the chat, but just wanted to let everybody on the call know that students can make appointments with any of the career coaches through our Doorways portal. That is also where there's job postings, employer information, but that is the best way that the student can make an appointment with their career coach. And so Amanda, we touched on this just a little bit, but if students are interested in graduate school, how do we support those students?
I love to talk about grad school, Kathy, so thank you. I saw that question as well. What I want to say is, given my populations, I on a weekly basis, that's a part of professional development. And we like to say at the Career Center, anything that has to do with professional development, we're prepared to help your student with. And every coach on this call and who is not present has been trained and is equipped to help your student with their professional materials, whether it's translating their resume into a CV, developing their personal statement, answering that question, why grad school, how that's connected to their career goals if they can't answer that. Our Career Center is also known for a lot of visual thinking activities, so unpacking that with a student. I think also, especially in this season where a lot of graduate programs are making some exceptions with entrance exams or extending deadlines, we're seeing a trend of students kind of engage with the Career Center in that. So anything that has to do with the professional development of a student, we are more than equipped, and we're supposed to be experts in that. And we also partner with places like the Writing Center or the Alumni Association to help students feel like they're getting a holistic kind of support system in that process. Again, whether it's the materials that we are very trained on, or it's just unpacking the questions like why. We do a lot of programming webinars that we might have done in person in the past. We have moved those into virtual, and they've been recorded, and they might live on our YouTube channel or on the Alumni Association's YouTube channel, where students can walk through those on their own time to kind of see what are the roadblocks that might be in their way, or resources that we have prepared for them. We also have a page dedicated on our Career Center website for graduate school resources, one of which is a timeline, which a student could use as a checklist. It is created for students who are looking at going directly from undergrad to grad school, but I encourage my students who come back as alumni to use it more like a checklist, or empowering our students to, not just in undergrad, but in grad school, ask for help. So reaching out to admissions counselors to learn about the unique things that each program has to offer, because the difference when it comes to graduate school search and undergraduate school search is that it is very individualized. The student really needs to know how to, in an empowered way, ask questions that speak to what's important to them. So we've provided a lot of different touch points, whether it's one-on-one, group moments, and resources that they can access on their own.
Great. Thanks, Amanda. And I want to be cognizant of time. So Ethan, just wanted to pass it over to you for any parting words.
We really appreciate all the 170 folks that showed up tonight. This is probably one of our larger crowds. We feel very proud, not only of your students I probably speak for my colleagues that students I'm working with have adapted very well. Yeah, it's a struggle when you go outside, you got to wear a mask and, it's not the same, but they've, I think, done a great job adapting. They know that they have support across campus. And so I just appreciate you guys coming and learning a bit about what we do at the Career Center. And certainly you can reach out to coaches or staff that are on this call, and we'd be happy to answer more specific questions. So with that being said, and we'd like to thank the Family Parent Office for promoting this and helping us engage with our folks out there in Vandyland. So thank you.